I just want to say that we actually interviewed you 10 years ago. You are our very first interview ever.
I think coming out here and supporting what they're doing in her foundation is really important. I'm frankly, I'm honored to be invited to such an event. I'm sitting next to, celebrities, and I'm kind of like, should I get their autograph?
And you were so empowering and inspiring to them. And I'm not surprised that you wrote this book.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. It's so good to be back here again 10 years later.
That's great. And I'm gonna hand it over to Mia, and she'll be our hostess. Take it away, Mia.
Okay, great. Thanks, Michelle. So today we are going to talk to Abby Wambach about her book, Wolfpack for Young Readers. Abby is a 2-time Olympic gold medalist, a FIFA Women's World Cup champion, and a former co-captain of the women's U.S. national soccer team. She is one of the highest all-time international goal scorers for male and female soccer players. She is also a mom of 3, a best-selling author, and an activist for equality. Abby inspires our generation to be leaders from a young age, to unite our voices as a community, and to change the world. It is a pleasure to have you today, Abby. And now I'm going to pass it on to Megan.
Hi, Abby. I really enjoyed reading Wolfpack. What inspired you to write the kid version? Also, was it easier or more challenging to write for young people?
Wow, Mia, great introduction, first of all. And Megan, amazing question. I think that in order for me to properly explain this, I have to kind of give the timeline of events that led me to writing the book Wolfpack that then turned into the Young Readers edition. So in 2016, I retired from my sport, didn't really know what I was going to do. And then fast forward a couple of years, and I got an email from the president of Barnard College, which is an all-women's college in New York City, asking me to deliver their commencement speech that graduation year. I was a little bit nervous, but I said yes anyway. Oftentimes, that's how most of us feel before we do anything new, right? And when I sat down to figure out what I was going to write and what I was going to say, it struck me that the lessons and the leadership philosophy that I had adhered to and learned throughout my career, I was finding out that not many people knew about. I think that that's what makes our women's national team so successful, is this culture that we live by, these norms, if you will. So when I created the speech, I delivered the speech, I was nervous, but I think I did good. And the video went viral. And because of that, the publishing industry, they got in touch with me and asked me if I wanted to turn that speech into a book. Now, the book was much more difficult to write than the speech. And let me tell you that this Young Readers edition, the reason why I wrote it, and I think this is really important, is because right now, more than ever, there is no more important time to be handing a book that is written on honor and handing those books into the hands of our young children. There's no more important time to do that than now. And I also firmly believe that our youth, the children of our world, are not given enough power, are not given enough autonomy to make decisions, to learn some of these philosophies that they will need for the whole of their life. Like, for instance, why don't we teach kids in school how to manage money? Why don't we teach kids in school how to do some of these really important things? And leadership is, in fact, one of them. So I wanted to give kids more power. I want children of the world to know that not everything that they read or see in the news or on their social media is true. There are good people in the world who do good things. And to know how those people do those good things is important. And it gives structure. It gives hopefully inspiration and motivation for y'all to make the world a little bit better.
Oh, hi, and thank you for this interview. And I really like the idea of wolf packs. It makes a lot of sense to me, but I was wondering if people should be part of one wolf pack at a time, or if people can be part of several at the same time. And can kids be leaders amongst adults as well?
This is so beautiful. I love this. So the idea of the wolf pack came to me, and I think you've all probably read the book, but the idea came to me because I'm obsessed with figuring out how to make groups of people successful. It's the reason why I played team sports, because individual sport is pretty easy. You just go out there, you do a thing, right? You're playing against one other person. And in team sport, most of the complexity doesn't really ever lie in the opposing team. The complexity is how to get the group of people that you're playing among and with to operate on the same page or under the same system, and getting a group of people from where they are to where they ought to be. So to answer your question, of course, people operate in many different packs, right? You have your school pack, whether you're in a classroom. You may have a pack on a sports team that you play on. You might have a pack. You have a familial pack, right? When you go home and you're at home and you're talking about the world and you're trying to figure out life. So there's multiple ways in which you can expand your pack. For me, one of the beautiful things is trying to connect one pack to another to make a giant pack, right? But over time, over the whole of your life, you will start creating more solidified packs. You will always have your familial pack, your family pack. But you will eventually figure out, okay, who are my people? Who do I want to do life with? That's the thing that I realized when I stopped playing soccer. That's the thing I miss the most, very much, is having these other really cool, strong, ambitious women to my right and to my left at all times, forcing me to be strong and stay strong and to be my very best. And then your last question, I believe that we all have the ability to lead from wherever we are. So even if you feel like you're a kid or you feel like you are not in a position of what we call power, right? Let's say you're at school or you're at home with your parents. There's an adult in that situation who oftentimes always gets the quote unquote power. They have the say, they're guiding the framework of the classroom discussion or the practice, or they're making dinner, or they're keeping the house tidy. Here's the thing. We are all leaders of our own lives. So you get to decide, right? Maybe your parents make you some food and maybe you're trying to be really healthy, right? And they've made you a bunch of different meals day after day after day that just don't feel right. They're not as healthy as you want to be eating. And so you have to have a conversation with your parent. Hey, and this happened in my life. Our child, he was training for cross country and he said, hey, can we have some healthier food over the next couple of weeks before I have this big meet coming up? And I said, absolutely, of course. That was an instance where my child led me, right? Because he was looking at himself in the mirror, asking, what is important to me? What are my values? And is everything in my life lining up? If not, communication is the most important thing. But here's the caveat. Oftentimes, those who are in power sometimes need to understand that the communication, the way you communicate with somebody who might seem like they have the power, you always have to operate out of your feelings, right? So if you approach your parent or your teacher and you start demanding things, they're probably going to have a little defensive reaction. So the way you approach somebody who might necessarily have a seat in power of you, you have to say, I really feel like it's going to be important to my health that we start eating a little bit better. So can we have at least one healthy option for dinner? And I'm sure it would be such a relief for your parent, because no parent wants to have to decide what we're going to have for dinner every night. They would love some help with you deciding. So you get to be the leader of your own life, no matter where you go. It's just sometimes as a young kid, you have to figure out how to communicate what you do want and what is best for you in your own life to those in power.
That's awesome. Davis.
Me and my mom, Abby, attended Together Live last year, and it was so amazing. And I was really close to you, and you and all the other speakers came into the aisles at the end. And I really wanted to give you a hug, but I couldn't get there in time. But during the coronavirus, we can't all gather together in the same way. What have you done to stay connected to your wolf pack, and what have you struggled most with during quarantine?
Oof, these are really good questions. Well, the one thing, you know, a lot of people have asked me this question, what have I done? And I have set a mindset for myself from the beginning that no matter what happens, that I'm not going to let what is going on in the world change the way I live my life, right? Of course, there's things that had to change, but the way that I was going to operate through optimism and through work ethic and setting small goals for myself, I wanted to come out of this pandemic better than when I started. And that was a conscious, intentional choice that I decided upon. Our family, we had a family talk. Okay, this sucks, right? This is the worst thing that's happened in the humanity in my lifetime. This is what I'm calling a great pause. And so there is some gifts that are also involved in this time where so many people are only seeing blocks, are only seeing things that are in my way that I can't get my life. I don't have the same life, and all they're looking through is through negative glasses. So I wanted to approach this hard time, no doubt, hard time, no doubt difficult. Things are being taken away, our freedoms are being taken away in some ways. I wanted to be a better person through this. And the ways in which I've stayed connected with my people, I mean, quite frankly, I've gotten even closer to my family, my familial unit here, because we've spent so much time together. And part of what has ensured us to stay as a close unit is we all have to take care of ourselves, our mental health, our physical health, and our spiritual health. So we all have to do working out. We all have to do some sort of educational filling up. We all have to do something for our own selves so that when we are together, we're not going to be bickering. Because a lot of times when you're not getting all of the things done that make you a really strong person, then usually what ends up being put into the fire is your emotions, and you're a little bit bratty and you just aren't that great, right? So you got to make sure that you're doing all the things that make you a happy person. And, you know, I feel really confident and good about the way that I've approached this pandemic, because I do think, you know, I have gotten fitter. I've had more time at home, right? I've gone through my house. I've cleaned the garage. I've done things that I've just been putting off and putting off. So what I call it is eating the frog. So every day I get up and I do the one thing that I least want to do that day first, or at least in the morning time, so that for the rest of the day, it's all easy. It's all downhill from there.
Hi, Abby. It's so wonderful to have you here today. I love the part in your book where you make failure your fuel. How do you keep a positive mindset in the face of failure?
Yeah, this is one of the hardest philosophies and rules that I write about in the Wolfpack book. And I learned it as a young kid, as you guys read, from my time playing on the national team. But let me tell you, I have to keep relearning this very rule that I wrote about almost every single day, because especially as women, we are told a lie when we're young, that because we aren't white men in power, that we have to be 100% perfect to get a chance. And it's just not true. That's why I think creating a wolf pack, creating teams, creating groups of us women, and holding us together gives us more power in times, especially when we need it, when we have fallen down. So anytime that our national team were together, we were always what we called playing on our edge, or playing to our limit and even beyond our limit. So what that means is, in order to get better, especially as a collective group, you have to play with no regard of whether you're going to be successful or not. Over time, as an expert at anything, you're making fewer and fewer and fewer mistakes as you get older. But when you become that professional, you have to keep finding those little small percentage points of gains, is what we call it. So for me, making failure my fuel is a philosophy that I have to keep working on, but it is a mindset that you can enable and enact in your brain. So when you make a mistake and you have that stomach dropping feeling, or you have a mistake and you feel angry or upset, those are human responses to a normal reaction, right? You're having a normal reaction to something that has happened in your life. But what you can do is work on the mindset of overcoming those emotions, right? Of getting on top of those emotions and saying, oh yeah, okay, this is human, this is fine, I'm okay. Nobody's died here. And now I can figure out how I'm going to proceed forward to make sure that I don't make the same choices to get to the same failure. So one of our things in the national team is it's okay to fail, but just don't make the same mistake twice for the same failure. If we're continually doing that over and over and over again, and also embracing failures to the people around you. When your teammates make a mistake, right? Like, no problem. Like, I saw your thought. The thought was good. Keep working, keep trying, keep that effort, keep that work rate, whatever it is. We have to encourage each other because of that perfectionism that young girls and women are expected. We have to encourage each other to take risks. And that's why our women's national team found so much success, is because we took so many risks on that practice field that when we got on the game field, we were a little bit better. And that, in the game of soccer, the irony in the game of soccer, the whole team is made to be perfect a couple of times a game to score a goal. The rest of the time we're failing. So we had to get pretty comfortable with failing, and so should you.
What was it like to win 2 Olympic gold medals, and where do you keep them?
What it's like to win any world championship, because I've won 2 Olympic golds and I've won a World Cup championship. It is, obviously, it's exciting, it's relieving, because, even though y'all are young, I know that you all know what it feels like to think about winning an Olympic gold medal, because that's basically what I did my whole life. Oh, I wonder what it feels like. I wonder what it feels like to watch your flag go up. I wonder what it feels like to get the gold medal wrapped around. It's all I thought about, right? So even though the tournament was 2-3 weeks long, this was something I had been preparing for my whole life. So when the whistle blew and it was time for us to be crowned gold medalists and champions, truly, I was just relieved, because I thought, if I don't win this, I'm going to be upset for the rest of my life. Like, I'm going to have a disappointment for the rest of my life. So I felt like an enormous sense of relief. And to answer your next question, I keep them in my underwear drawer. Don't tell anybody.
And what did it feel like to say bye to your team after your last game? And do you still feel connected to your Wolfpack?
At 35 years old, when I retired from playing for our national team, I was a little bit old and tired, and my body was not what it once was. So I felt complete when I finished playing for our team. And interestingly enough, in my book, I talk about leading from the bench, and that story was derived from the 2015 World Cup that I played in. And halfway through the tournament, our coaching staff sat me down and told me that they were going to call on my services after the game had started, at the end of the game. And essentially, it's a really nice way of saying I got my butt benched. I got benched, okay? And that stunk. I was so upset. I was sad. I was quite frankly, I was devastated. But here's the thing. I had a decision to be a good teammate or a bad teammate. How was I going to sit on the bench? Was I going to support my team, or was I just going to sit there and pout? So I decided, okay, I'm going to be a good teammate. So I actually was such a good teammate that they moved me to the very furthest part of the bench, the coaching staff, because I was so loud and obnoxious. And what ended up happening, we ended up winning the tournament. My teammates all told me that if it weren't for my support on that bench, they weren't sure that they would have had the confidence on the field that they did. They did end up having to win that tournament. But more importantly, looking back, I've scored a lot of goals in my life. Looking back, I think the way I responded to that benching was maybe the thing that I'm most proud of in my career on the national team. And now in my retirement, the players that were on that team, when things happen in their life, when they get pregnant, when family members die, when cancers happen, when life-changing events come to my former teammates, who do you think they call? They call me. And the reason why they call me is because when I was faced with the most difficult thing, they knew it. They knew that I was devastated. And when I was faced with what was more important, my ego or my dreams or the team's, and I chose the team, I cemented inside of every single one of those players that I was somebody to be trusted, that I was somebody who had honor, that I was somebody who backed up everything that I had ever said and felt about this team. And so that's important. It's not just about the goals, kids. It's about how you are with the people around you. Do your actions match your words? And because mine did, I think that I have lifelong friends. And like I say, sometimes once a leader, always a leader.
Who was your favorite soccer player growing up? And what was it like when you got to play alongside them?
I actually had a couple of favorite soccer players growing up. I don't know if you've ever heard of her, but her name is Mia Hamm. You guys ever heard of her?
I'm here with Mia Hamm. So why did you want to start the foundation?
I started the Mia Hamm Foundation. I was inspired by my brother and the relationship and love we had for sports.
She's incredible. And another woman, her name is Michelle Akers. I wrote about her in the book. She was for sure my favorite player, probably the most dominant player that ever played for our women's national team. But you don't know as much about her because internet really wasn't around when she was playing. Social media surely wasn't around. And she played very similar to the way that I like to play soccer. And I got a chance to play with Michelle a little bit. I got a lot more chance to play with Mia. And let me just tell you, when you go from having pictures of your idols up on your wall to 5 to 10 years, short years later, to be literally suiting up next to them in a locker room, there's probably been no more nervous human being on the planet before walking into that locker room and then seeing Mia over there and being like, okay, it's fine. This is going to be fine. She's a person. The amount of times I had to say, like, she's a person. She puts her pants on the same way every day. She's putting her cleats on. I'm putting my cleats on. We're all going to be fine here. And those moments are terrifying. When you start something new, you're on a new team, you go into a new class, you go into a new schoolroom. Those are scary times, right? But here's the thing. Those are moments, what I call their level up moments. If you want to be great, these moments are going to come in your life. If you find a little bit of success, those moments are going to come more. If you find more success, those moments are going to show up more. And the way you interact with the level up moment in your life can determine your life. If you say, okay, I'm too nervous for this, I've got to go home, then you're never going to learn the lesson, whatever lesson it is that you're supposed to learn from being in that moment. So I always promise myself one thing, okay, for these level up fearful moments, these moments where I feel inferior, these moments where I am, for sure, I was the worst soccer player on the team, on the national team when I first got there. The ball was zooming around and I was just running around like I had no idea what I was doing, because that's how it really looked, truly. I promised myself, okay, I'm going to go to sleep and I'm going to wake up and I'm just going to try again. And then the more you do that, the more sleeps you have and the more promises that you make to yourself that you're going to wake up and you're going to try again, it gets a little bit easier, just a little bit. It's not going to get great. It's not going to be perfect all of a sudden, but it's going to get a little bit easier. You're going to get a little bit more comfortable. And then over time, you will find all of these level up moments in your life are those moments that really make the biggest difference.
What was your favorite empowering word to yell out to your teammates from the field or from the bench?
One more chance. That is what I was screaming and yelling in 2011 when we were playing against Brazil in the Women's World Cup in Germany. I just believe that there is always time for one more chance. And we never gave up. We never quit. Didn't matter what minute it was. We won a lot of games. Our national team won a lot of games in the very closing seconds of games, because every single one of us believed that if we could create one more chance, we could do it. We could win.
How often do you kick around a soccer ball now?
I don't kick a soccer ball around at all. My kids kick it around and I watch them. So I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old that play soccer, and it is so much fun watching them play. And quite frankly, I played for 30 years, so that's enough, right?
What is your favorite activity to do with your kids?
I love cooking dinner for them. And then I love watching a TV show, all of us on the couch, curled up, hanging out.
What is your favorite food on Thanksgiving?
Ooh, favorite food on Thanksgiving. Well, you know what's funny? I'm not a huge turkey fan. I'm a stuffing kind of girl. I love me some stuffing. I also think I'm going to make some homemade mashed potatoes this year with some ricotta cheese. So I'm looking forward to that. Gravy. Gravy's also pretty good.
What's your favorite country you visited?
I love Europe, like all of Europe. You know, I know that there's tons of countries in Europe. One of my favorite places to visit is also Japan, and a place that I am dreaming to go, which I've not yet gone, surprising, this might surprise you, is Australia and New Zealand.
Do you have a favorite living world leader?
A favorite living world leader. I love this. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda, she is somebody that I just think represents symbolically what is possible. She's not only young, but she's charismatic, and there is a very good reason probably why her country has very few COVID cases and has had very few. She's taken it very seriously. They've gone on serious lockdowns, but because of that, very few people have died and very few people have actually contracted COVID.
What is your Starbucks or coffee house order?
I love it. I'm mostly a black coffee kind of drinker, but when I'm in for a little treat, I'll get a soy latte from Starbucks. And right now, during the season, pumpkin lattes, I mean, aren't they the best?
Who came up with the term bonus mom in your family?
I will give that credit to my wife, Glennon. She's a woman of words. And when I first stepped into this family, I didn't want to be the weird step parent, how it's all written about in Bad Fairy, the evil stepmother. Like, that's not something that I wanted. So really what they call me is they just call me Abby. And from the beginning, I was just going to be a bonus parent. I was going to be a bonus mom, and it stuck, and I'm happy about it.
When you played for the national team, which country was your biggest rival?
Brazil, for sure. I would also say Japan, because they beat us in the 2011 Women's World Cup on penalty kicks. And then Germany was also one of our toughest rivals. I just want to tell you, I'm so impressed. I'll hold mine up too.
That's awesome.
I'm so impressed with you all and the questions and the preparation I'm sure this took. KidScoop Media, baby. You guys are the best. I love it. I love that you all came here prepared. And here's what's most important. Every single adult that uses Zoom does not know how and when to take themselves off mute. And you all did it impeccably. The children are our future. And because of this, I know. Thanks, you guys.